It's time to stop expecting your healing to be linear and perfect. Hey! If you're new here, welcome, and if you're not new here, hey icons! Oh my gosh, what a coincidence! When you subscribe to my channel, you become the most iconic person ever. Go ahead and get that over with, come on. Let's just get straight into it. I'm in a weird mood today. I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you are probably on some type of healing journey. Honestly, we are all on some type of healing journey, even if we're not actively trying to heal. But every single thing is trial and error, and you shouldn't expect your healing to be linear. You shouldn't expect to just immediately heal and never have any setbacks, which I feel like is very, obvious, but it's hard when you're actually healing to have patience with yourself when you have setbacks and be like, oh, actually, like, this is normal and I'm having setbacks, but that's okay. And everyone is different. If someone has different struggles than you, or if someone appears to be healing faster than you, it doesn't mean that you're not as valid. Because something that I've struggled with in the past is comparison and comparing my path to other people. But just because your path is different does not mean that you're not still on the right path, because some people appear to be perfect and like nothing ever goes wrong for them, but a lot of times that's just a facade and they actually have a lot of struggles going on. And just because it seems like they're not struggling does not mean that they are not. Do not let anybody ever make you feel like your healing journey or like you are, like, anything you do is less valid. Why should anybody have a say in what you're doing? It's your life. I literally hate when people try to have a say in what I'm doing as if it's not my life and as if I don't know myself more than they know me. Like, people often project their limitations and their insecurities on you, especially when you tell them what you want to do with your life or like your dreams. I always believed in myself as a kid, and I had this confidence. I was like, I am going to be a YouTuber, I'm going to do all this, I'm going to do all that. And I would say that as a kid, and people would laugh, or they would be like, that's going to be really hard. Obviously, like, I know when I say that, I'm not saying, like, I'm expecting to immediately become successful because it's so easy. I knew it was difficult from an early age, but I knew that I was going to do it anyways. And I've always had this knowing, that I'm going to be something special. I'm laughing, but I'm serious. Everybody who is successful knew that they were going to be, even when people were like, you're crazy, they didn't care, and they still became successful because they believed that they would be. It's all delusion, okay? And yeah, so don't let anyone ever make you feel like you're less valid, especially on your healing. Your healing is valid. Everybody is going at their own pace, and your pace is valid, okay? It's important to recognize when people are placing their limitations on you, which happens extremely often because people love to do that. But you know yourself better than they know you. You know your healing journey better than they know it, and period. You should just have a deep trust in yourself and your journey, even when things go wrong, because you know that you're always going to get through it and come back from it. You should also just let people's words roll off of you, because oftentimes it doesn't reflect anything about you, unless you're genuinely a bad person. It oftentimes doesn't reflect anything about you, and people are just trying to project. I recently quit a job that was like really, really affecting my mental health negatively, like every day. I only worked like twice a week, and it was affecting me every day. That's crazy. And it was also like seeping into my dreams and just causing me so much like physical stress. So I left because I was like, it's not worth it. And I hate that there's this idea, especially in older generations, of like, even if something is hard, you should just stick it out. But I think if something isn't serving you and it's like affecting you negatively and you have the chance to let it go, you should let it go. You shouldn't hold on to things that aren't serving you. And that's really what like this past year was about, is just letting go of things that don't serve me. I know that's probably true for a lot of people. And I feel like this year I'm really gonna just all of us are just gonna reap the benefits of that, which is amazing. Like I said, I quit that job and everybody was like, you don't have another job lined up, like, what's wrong with you? And people are annoying. People annoy me. There was just this one boss who kept asking me over and over and over, as if, like, my answer wasn't good enough. I'm like, girl. When someone is, like, condescendingly, that's not a word, asking you, like, are you sure you want to do that? And they, like, you can see that they're, like, they think you're, let me slow down. Like, you can see that they literally think you're crazy and delusional. You know what I mean? I just let it roll off me because I'm like, I have such a deep trust that there's already an opportunity lined up for me that I'm not worried. I could let those words worry me of people being like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" But I I feel fine where I'm at. Yes, it's uncertain, but what happens next isn't up to me in a way. I mean, it is up to me based on the action that I take, but how it plays out is not up to me. So I'm not worried because I know that it's fine. Everything that I've ever been anxious about always ends up being fine. So I know that I'm okay. I'm going to try to enjoy this time in my life while I'm building my future. It's not easy to always shift your mindset, but it takes a lot of practice. Okay, and we'll get more into that. It also helps to literally visualize things rolling off you. I did a meditation like a while ago where it was like visualize the negativity rolling off of you like water, and that actually really helps. And sometimes even just doing like a physical thing to get rid of negativity. For example, if you feel really gross and negative, just like take a shower and set the intention that it's cleansing you of any negative energy, because that really helps. Okay, especially when people are placing their limitations on you. You don't want that in your energy. I heard this quote from someone like a while ago that said slow progress is better than no progress. And I genuinely, it completely altered my life. Like, genuinely, I'm not being dramatic. I think about it all the time and I'm like, even if I don't physically see progress in my healing or just in anything that I'm doing, there is progress. Even if it's under the surface, you can't really see the big picture. You don't truly know how much progress you've made until you're looking back at it. And you're making progress no matter what. Even on the days when you don't feel like showing up, you're still making progress. Your progress is like roots under the ground, and it's building up and it's getting stronger. And then eventually the flowers will bloom. But sometimes flowers take a long time to bloom, like you have to build up the foundation and the roots first. And that takes a lot of trial and error. You have to make sure you have enough water, and you have to make sure, metaphorically, well, also not metaphorically, and you have to make sure you have enough sunlight and all of that. There's so many components that help the roots grow, okay? And sometimes you make a mistake and you don't water yourself enough, and then you have a setback. But then you learn from it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna water myself more. That I don't think that metaphor made sense to somebody. I have off days all the time, okay? I mean, we all do. But I recently came to the realization that I feel a sort of pressure to like present myself in like a perfect way, like because I place those expectations on myself to be perfect. And I think because of the content I post of like self-improvement, I don't want anyone to perceive me as like not taking my advice sometimes, because sometimes I'm exhausted and I don't want to take my own advice. Sometimes I'm having a day where I'm in my own head and I'm like, I don't want to shift my mindset. That's so much work. I'm exhausted. I don't care. And sometimes that's what you need to do, is just sit in the emotion. I really just want to be open with you and more vulnerable. That's what I want to do, because nobody nobody expects me to be perfect, and I shouldn't expect myself to be perfect and present this perfect version of myself, because obviously I'm not. Like, that's obvious. Healing always comes to a point where it gets very difficult. That's inevitable. And you should never ever stop, because you never know how close you are to a breakthrough. And that goes for everything. Like, you really never know how close you are to a breakthrough. Like, so many people give up right before their breakthrough. And sometimes you see really stagnant progress for years, and then suddenly there's a breakthrough, and your progress goes crazy on that thing. You really never know what could happen, and you should keep going even when you can't see a clear path in front of you. You should keep going, because the path will clear up eventually. Ah! I don't really know what that was. I just really needed to hear that, and I didn't even plan to say that. So, you may also sometimes feel like your healing is moving in the opposite direction, but everything is temporary, okay? Like, you're always exactly where you're meant to be. No question. You're always exactly where you're meant to be. Even if it doesn't feel like it, there's some deeper reason for where you are right now. And you're not always going to be here. I'm in a little bit of an uncertain chapter right now. I have no idea what is going to happen when I graduate, but I could be scared of that. Or I could look at it positively and be like, actually, high school is like, who cares? Okay, not who cares, but like, there is so much more after high school. The most amazing things could happen after high school. And that uncertainty is exciting, you know? I can be excited by the uncertainty, and I am sometimes scared of the uncertainty. That's inevitable. There's the idea of like, what's uncertain is scarier than like, or what is unseen is scarier than what is seen. But it's important to reframe the way that you think about things, and that's been a big part of my personal healing journey, is always reframing my thoughts to be positive and see the positive side of things, which is not always easy, but it takes a lot of practice. Everything takes a lot of practice. Healing is trial and error, and healing is never linear. There is no specific time limit or way that you need to heal, and you're on your own journey. Your journey is just as valid as everybody else's. You should build up a sort of toolbox for your healing, meaning that whenever difficult moments happen, you have that in your toolbox for next time something similar to that happens. You'll know how to deal with it next time, if that makes sense. It takes a lot of trial and error to know how you specifically need to regulate yourself and heal. How other people need to regulate and heal may not be how you need to regulate and heal. It takes time, and it takes trial and error, and also time heals cause time heals everything I do. Seriously though. You'll have days when you find it really easily. Hey, you'll have days when you find it really easy to get yourself out of negative emotions, but there will be days when you're exhausted and you don't want to do that. I've had a lot of days like that recently, but I actually feel very rested and rejuvenated today, so that's good. But there will be days when it doesn't seem to go away, and you just need to sit with it. Never suppress your emotions. Period. Okay? And speaking of which, I made a video about that. Just be like, what? Stop being so cute. Anyways, there will be days when you're easily able to just reframe your mindset, and there will be days when you're like, I don't want to reframe my mindset. I'm just gonna sit here in this sadness or this anxiety. It's important to notice your emotions and name them, and then be like, that thought wasn't going anywhere. Just watch my video on emotions. I don't know what my deal is. Next point, baby girl, is there will be constant setbacks in your healing journey, but that doesn't mean you're not healing. Okay? You can't see the big picture, like I said earlier. Like, you never know how much progress you've made until you look back. I already said that. Just remind yourself that you're doing the best you can. Something I've been doing a lot recently when I feel anxious and tense is just like giving myself a hug and being like, it's okay. I know you're trying your best. Like, I'm giving you grace. It's so important to give yourself grace because you can't be perfect and you can't expect yourself to immediately heal. That's something that I've struggled with as well because, like I said, I expect myself to be perfect and I place this expectation on myself, especially when it comes to interacting with people because I am like, I'm never going to care what anyone thinks about me again. I'm never going to suppress who I truly am again, but I've learned to do that my whole life, so I can't just expect myself to immediately be myself in front of everyone and not care what anyone thinks. It just takes essentially forcing myself to do it and pretending that I'm confident in the process, and eventually it becomes easier. There are so many things I've done that I never would have done before because I just did it scared. And then once I did it, I was like, oh, that was not scary. I'm starting to like film in public more. I never thought I would do that, but I do it. I do it. You're never going to be ready for something that is scary, and you just need to literally do it scared. Okay? I don't care if you're trembling and throwing up. Something on the other side of that fear is worth it. I mean, you have to decide if it's worth it to you. Oh my gosh, this coat is all of a sudden making me torched. Okay. You're not always going to be where you are right now. Like I said, I'm in a little bit of an uncertain chapter, but I'm not always going to be here, and that gives me a lot of comfort to realize that I am exactly where I'm meant to be. Where I am right now is where I was always going to be at this time in my life. And where was I going with that? Help! Sorry, I don't know. Where was I going with that? Remember that you are in control of your thoughts. Leave behind the ones that don't align with you and pick up the ones that do align with you. If a thought comes into your field and you are like, ew, I don't want that thought, you say, get out! Get out of my head! Get out of my head! You just have to shove that thought out of your mind, and it helps with affirmations. For example, if I start to feel doubt, I will be like, I do not resonate with that. Like, this is from my past self, or this is from limitations or past experiences, and I just recognize it as a lie, which I will dive more into in a second. You should also recognize that worrying about my microphone is going to die. As I was saying, you need to recognize that worrying about the future will not influence it. I saw that recently on my affirmations app, which is called I Am, not sponsored. Minor situations should not cause major stress. Like I said, everything is temporary, everything will pass. Those negative emotions will pass. I'm getting really anxious because my microphone keeps beeping red. Difficult emotions, situations, and even stages of life are temporary. You've gotten far enough that you shouldn't doubt your ability to get even further and make even more progress. You're always making constant progress, even if it doesn't always feel like it. Every difficult thing and every good thing that happens is happening for a reason. Because I went through like one of the worst times of my entire life in sophomore year, and it made me become this version of myself that I am speaking to you now, and it made me passionate about improving myself and teaching others to do it as well. So if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be filming this video, honestly. It is crucial to recognize what thoughts come up that are true and which ones are lies, because if you're playing out a million different scenarios in your head, if you have anxiety like me, just slow down and ask yourself, like, is this something I need to actually be worrying about and playing out in my head? Like, is my mind just like building this up to be something scarier than it actually is? And normally it is. Like, normally your mind is just making you worry for no reason about things that are not gonna happen. You just have to remind yourself that your anxiety is always proven wrong. And something that helps when your healing journey gets difficult is to look back and remember the progress you've made. I always like to journal about it, you know me. It helps to just put it into perspective when you're healing, because it's hard to see how much you're actually doing for yourself when you're doing it, if that makes sense. Sometimes I don't give myself enough credit because every day I show up for myself and I work hard to continuously improve myself. And I don't give myself enough credit sometimes. So I need to just sit back and kind of look at my life from an outside perspective and be like, oh, I'm literally so proud of myself because I show up every day and I work hard. And I work hard, I grind till I own it. Okay, anyways, let me give you a little journaling prompt to help you out, which is to write down 5 to 10 things that you've healed from, or however many you can think of, and reflect on how it's changed you. I don't have any other thoughts on that. You are never really going to be completely healed because negative emotions always find a way to come up. But it's how you deal. Why did I just get an accent? It's how you deal with them that matters. People who are super successful and they have their lives together, they still have problems, but they've learned to deal with them. I mean, not everyone has, but you know what I mean. And the only way to deal with negative things is to go straight through them in order to learn how to deal with them. Healing is a very taxing, difficult process, but it is so sorry, it's so worth it because your problems evolve with you, and your problems never really they never go away, but they just get easier. Like, for example, if you are searching for your dream job, your problems will evolve from like having to work really hard to get that job to when you get that job having to actually just work the job. You know, like that's just one example. Your problems just get easier to deal with, and also you get better at dealing with them. Healing is also unique. Nobody's healing journey is the same. Something that works for me may not work for you. Something that works for you may not work for me. You just have to find what works for you through trial and error. And one thing that you should never do on your healing journey is compare it to other people's, because it's not a one-size-fits-all experience. It's just about finding what works best for you. This video may not help you at all. Maybe you just needed to hear something else. You can look at other people's healing journey for inspiration, but you shouldn't let that turn into comparison. You can look at other people's healing and appreciate it and be like, wow, I'm so proud of them for healing, and I'm inspired by their healing journey. I want to heal. But don't ever be like, oh, they're more healed. That doesn't make sense. They're farther along their healing journey with me. Is it even worth it? Like, you know what I mean? Don't let it turn into a comparison. Healing is also unpredictable, but it shouldn't scare you because some of the best things in life are unpredictable. It's all about your perspective, okay? You could look at that as a scary thing, or you could look at it as exciting because you don't know where life could take you. You could be in the most amazing place in your life tomorrow. Like, literally anything is possible. Things can shift so quickly. You also can't expect yourself to be perfect and to heal overnight. Nobody has ever done that, and nobody ever will. And it's definitely something that I'm working on because it gets frustrating when I really want to heal from something and I make progress and then something interrupts the progress, and it's just kind of a cycle of like making progress and then a setback, making more progress and then a setback, but eventually it will get better. The key to healing is resilience and knowing that with dedicated practice you can heal. You will build up more ways to regulate yourself and heal and bring yourself out of negative emotions as you go through those negative emotions. And something that I've really worked hard to heal is my self-doubt, because I went through a while where I was easily able to reframe it and just like shove it out of my mind, but recently it's been really difficult to do that. Oh, and it's been hard to release and reframe, but I'm working on it. And some of the ways that I'm doing this are to look at it from the perspective of my younger self and my loved ones. So I'm like, if my younger self told me that she was doing the things that I'm doing, I would believe in her, no question. I would say, okay, period, I believe in you, I love you. Like, you can do this, you can do anything. Same thing as if someone that I love said that to me and they were like, I'm doing this, I would be like, OMG, I'm so happy for you, I'm so proud of you, like, you can do anything. No question about it. I would believe in them immediately. So I'm like, why can I not give myself that same energy? Like, I should, and I'm working on it. I am also trying to catch my self-doubt, like, as soon as it comes into my mind and just try to take the power away from it. Some of the steps that you can do and that I'm trying to do. Number one is to identify the thoughts that come up. Next is to question their validity, and then you can replace them either through journaling, gathering counter evidence, visualization, stating the opposite, things like that. So if self-doubt comes up, I will be like, okay, self-doubt just came up, but then I question it and I'm like, okay, but where did this come from? And normally it's like a past experience or limitations others have placed on me, or, I'm just in a negative state. I can replace them and say the opposite, or just like affirm to myself that like I believe in myself, and just gather evidence of certain times where I've achieved things and where things have worked out better than I imagined, or things like that. And remember that we are all on this healing journey together. Even if your healing journey looks different from other people, we're all on this journey together, and your journey is the one that you've always been meant to have. And you should do something nice for yourself today, because, period. I have therapy today, so I'm excited. And you should also just take it easy with yourself and slow down, because all of us are just trying our best. Do something nice for someone you love. Do something nice for a random stranger, because I'm sure everyone needs it, because we're all trying our best. And yeah, so let's get into the last segment, which is afterthought. I have it in my little cheetah print bag. I've decided to keep it in here because I think it's really chic. Something small that brings me joy. Laying in bed at the end of the day, showered, skincare done, no school the next day, comfort show, etc. I literally I love rotting time. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, genuinely, at the end of every single day, I love to just take so much time to literally do nothing. Like, literally do nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, if that's what brings you joy, that's what brings me joy, there's really nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking time to rest and rejuvenate, because you cannot give 100% all the time. Anyways, that is all I have for you icons today. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure that you subscribe if you're iconic. Follow my TikTok, follow my Pinterest, do everything that you want to do. Comment something that brings you joy. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be literally eating breakfast. Anyways, stay iconic as usual.